let's talk about my honest thoughts about the tank passive changes. It's something I actually didn't talk about on the channel yet. I only made one community post where I said that I'm going to reserve judgment, feel this thing out, and see if it really helps the game out. Especially, well, in this case, it's supposed to help the tank roll out. And I'm not going to lie, I'm pretty neutral on it. I don't dislike it. I don't hate it. I certainly feel that it's really frustrating on certain characters, and on other characters it was a big buff. So let's talk about it. So what were the tank passive changes and how does everything work? First of all, if you're a bit out of the loop, here you go. This is what the tank roll passive change was. So first of all, tanks are now taking 25% damage reduction against critical headshot damage. And then their knockback resistance had been increased from 30% to 50%. Personally, I'm not a fan of this change at all. This really, really hurt a lot of ways that certain characters interact, especially I feel like something not a lot of people are talking about. Brigitte relies a lot on knocking tanks away, and her shift is used to trigger Inspire, and that's pretty much the starting point of her gameplay loop. Her not being able to create that much distance anymore against either a diving tank or a brawl tank that do run up to her is a big problem. So unless they want to buff up Brig's knockback, this is a change that hurts Brig quite a bit. I would like to see this particular knockback change walked back to maybe 40%, 45%, just because it also messes with Lucio as well. And again, it's just weird. It's one of those weird changes where I'm not a fan of it personally. I think, like, I try to think of things from a overall gameplay perspective and not just one role. But I do feel it's a little bit unfair on Brig in the way that I'm not gonna lie, Brig actually is feeling worse and worse with some of the tank changes that are coming through. But we'll talk about Brig in another video. Let's keep moving. The big one is how armored HP is working, and armor health has been reverted to provide a flat damage reduction of 5 per projectile up to a maximum of 50% damage reduction. Out of combat HP regen has been changed from 20 healing a second to 10 healing a second plus 5% of your current max health. And okay, the TLDR of all of this is basically armor health has gone back to the way it worked in Overwatch 1, and the the healing passive that is there globally now for tank and DPS as well. This has been changed into the way it works now is you will recover 10 healing a second and then 5% of what your current max HP is. I will say I really like this change, even though the healing per second barely triggers on a bunch of characters that do perhaps disengage and re-engage. This feels really nice to have on them. It's really, really good. I'm a big fan of this. It's not game breaking, it's very nice. And the same thing about the armor health. Armor health as well was overall a very nice feeling. I've been playing mostly tank for the past like few weeks, so been playing mostly tank, been playing pretty much all the DPS and supports as well on stream with you guys. And this is the conclusion I've come down to. So we're gonna visit the tank role first and talk about the biggest winners and the biggest losers. So first of all, D.Va. D.Va is by far the biggest loser in this patch. Despite her getting a big buff from the armor changes, she can feel almost impossible to kill, but the problem with D.Va is she feels like a jack of all trades, master of none. Her damage is okay, her abilities are okay, defense matrix is her only strong point. She can stay alive quite a bit, but her ability to do the initial burst damage is really bad. And I've come to the point where I've been thinking, you know what, like if we are going to stay in 5v5, which again debatable between this and 6v6, even though I'm more on the side of 6v6 nowadays than I am with 5v5, because 5v5 just again we end up creating new problems like this one. However, talking about D.Va's current state, if we will stay in 5v5, I do think D.Va's primary fire in particular needs a complete rework. I think you give her something where she can shoot rockets. Maybe you give her actual shotguns instead of these weird shotguns that she does currently have. Because, so if you guys don't know, apparently D.Va does do Pele damage, and the way the game registers her weapons is that it's a shotgun pellet type style of gameplay, and because of that it hurt her ability to duel, especially a lot of the brawl tanks like crazy, because D.Va did take a big nerf with the armor changes and everything. So she's one of the characters that has been affected quite a bit, and I do hope the developer have her in the radar range. She's not necessarily the best dive tank either. She's not necessarily used to engage and start fights. She kind of wants to follow up and clean up on something that maybe her dive DPS do. But more often than not, nowadays, the meta does require more aggressive dive tanks. And honestly, Winston, Ball, and Doomfist all do a better job at that than D.Va does. So that's not to say D.Va is bad. D.Va's not good. D.Va's not bad. D.Va's just okay. Like, she's there. She has her niches. She's pretty good into poke and his scan-centric comps. But outside of that, she's a little bit awkward. And the worst thing with these armor changes is it's hurt her ability to duel Winston a lot. And because of that, now the Winston Diva matchup, I guess you could argue maybe is a skill matchup, but I won't lie that whenever I'm playing Winston and I run into Diva, I just feel like I can't die against her. Like if I play it smart and obviously don't feed 1v5, I can easily do whatever I want. Doomfist, honestly, the changes haven't really hurt him. The headshot damage reduction feels very nice on him. And he feels okay. Honestly, there's really not much to say about Doom. I think he's fine. A tier, really good character. The only people that complain about Doomfist are people that are bad at Doomfist and they're trying to learn him. So please just respect that process, learn the character. Like I said, only thing that hurt him was the knockback resistance. Reduce the knockback resistance down to 40%, and I think that's the best middle ground for that. Junker Queen. Junker Queen is a bit awkward. Technically, she has been hurt from what I understand so far, from a gameplay feeling point of view. Junker Queen has been hurt a little bit with the way her pellet damage works. And I don't know, like, I know they're slowly, progressively buffing Junker Queen up over time, and I feel like maybe at some point Junker Queen might end up becoming a meta tank because of just how slowly and progressively she's like the old Orisa that we had in the past year where she got so many buffs over time. So maybe Queen might end up becoming meta at some point, but at the moment Queen is fine, middle of the pack, nothing too strong or nothing too weak. She's okay, very dependent on the player that's playing her. She's a high skill character, and I like her that way. She's, great character, really fun to play. 𝐒𝐈𝐊 is very good. 𝐒𝐈𝐊 is surprisingly good, one of the best tanks right now. He's seeing a lot of play at the OWCS. A lot of the Korean teams are playing him. They play him in this very interesting dive-like playstyle as well. And man, 𝐒𝐈𝐊 is just almost feels like he's probably in a place right now where he's meant to prove his shout that he does, like his E, the cardiac overdrive, the damage reduction from it, the way the new armor works, and all that put together. I don't know, man. 𝐒𝐈𝐊 feels really strong. But in your casual quick play games and things like that, just get like an Ana or maybe a Zen. Honestly, Zen is more consistent against him. Just get a Zen and, his life will become a nightmare. Alternatively, if you're playing the damage roll itself, playing characters like Echo, Hanzo, maybe Sombra, Sojourn, these are characters that can easily farm against him. So, 𝐒𝐈𝐊 definitely dealable with in ladder and ranked play. But if he has ladder and rank play, quick play and rank play. But if he has a little bit of coordination coming in with him, he can feel really hard to take down. So if you are playing against 𝐒𝐈𝐊, do prioritize his supports before going after him. And understand how to bait out cardiac overdrive, wait out the overdrive, and then, throw all your cooldowns into him. Moving on to Orisa. Orisa is, in theory, kind of a big loser of the patch. But she feels okay. Again, middle of the pack, not too good, not too bad. I think Orisa is fine there. She still has some really good matchups against the tanks that she is good against, but it's at that point where when she is vulnerable, she can die, and that's all we need from Orisa. And I think Orisa is just so much more fun to play when there's a little bit of skill to reward and aspect to her, as well as a risk factor, because the problem with Orisa is like characters that have like little to no risk become less fun to play because it feels like there's no point you will get punished. That's kind of the problem 𝐒𝐈𝐊 is running into, but I digress. Moving on, Ramattra. Ramattra definitely big winner of the new patches. He's feeling much better. We know that there is most likely an HP pool change coming in the near future that's going to help him out, and Ramattra might actually be the best tank going into the future. So to the people that are grinding tanked, hey, keep 𝐒𝐈𝐊 in your line of, Ramattra in your line of sight. He's actually very good. He's seeing a bunch of play at higher levels of play at OWCS as well. So do not sleep on Ramattra at all. You might have to play him in a little bit more of a passive play style, but he's still a very good tank overall. Reinhardt is actually a big winner of the patches. His burst damage is great. He is very survivable. Again, just don't feed on the character and you can actually do a lot with Reinhardt. We had multiple streams where we were having lots of fun on Ryan. We were doing really good on him. So Ryan, definitely a big winner, and I think he's actually very, very strong. He's A tier. He's really not that bad to play. And probably the only time where Ryan feels rough to play is if they pull out the 𝐒𝐈𝐊. That's probably the only space where it could feel rough to play, because Ryan, even against Roadhog, is not that bad. So Roadhog has been affected by the shotgun and pellet changes quite a bit. Now, from what I understand, they've not bug fixed his damage. So Roadhog's pellets are registering max damage, not the damage reduction that should be applied to them. However, as soon as that change comes through where they bug fix his pellets, Roadhog should feel a little bit weaker. However, I do think Hog still needs a nerf. His survivability is still great, but you know what? I'm okay with the survivability. I just think you have to pick one side. Do we make him a glass cannon, or do we make him a good survivable tank with mediocre damage? Because right now he's not even a glass cannon. He's legitimately a cannon, and he can take over a lot of quick play and ranked games easily. Because again, he alone needs team coordination to take him down. So Roadhog big winner of the patch, but definitely needs to be looked into by the balance team. Sigma's fine. Like, he's always been, A tier pick. Don't think I have much to say about him. Winston, big winner of the patch. He ignores how armor works in general, but the damage reduction onto his head and the fact that D.Va cannot insta-wipe him anymore is pretty good. Also, against Roadhog, you're a little bit more survivable because, again, the way the pellet damage works against armor. Again, just don't feed. Like, I feel like a lot of tank players do not understand the difference between how to playing tank and just running it down 1v5 and then crying that tank is a bad role. Please, there's a massive difference in doing either of those things. Wrecking Ball, surprisingly, okay, so I've played a bit of ball here and then. I think he's okay, but apparently Chasm, one of the best ball players in the world, is in champion rank with him, and he says that ball is one of the most overpowered tanks, and the problem is the community just hasn't understood how to play the new ball and hasn't caught up yet. So I'm gonna take the word of the best ball player over here. Like, if he's reached the champion rank with one tricking Wrecking Ball, I think there's something about this character that a lot of people haven't figured out yet. And it's like that Orisa thing where a lot of people weren't paying attention to Orisa, and then she just kind of took over the entire game. Zarya's kind of a big loser, honestly. She doesn't really have any armor and stuff going that for her, so Zarya feels overall pretty much the same. And her beam against the way Overwatch 1 armor worked, if I'm not mistaken, is a little bit weaker. So I don't know if they will buff Zarya or not, but honestly, I think Zarya is fine. I think keep her where she is. She's okay. So that's my opinion on the tank changes, everybody, and how all the tanks have been feeling. I've played pretty much all of them significantly, except Wrecking Ball, which I would want to play a little bit more, but I just don't have the time to properly learn him. Overall, the characters that affects outside of the tank role, damage and support. So definitely, without doubt, I have to stand up. I've been standing up for this character for a while. It's hurt Reaper the most, and I really don't understand until the Reaper rework comes out. Why can we not tighten Reaper spread just a little bit and buff him up? Like, seriously, I don't understand this weird fear that Reaper will take over the game. There's a plethora of things in this game that can destroy Reaper immediately, and even if we buff him up, we can nerf the cooldowns on his mobility and things like that, so he's a little bit more riskier to play. So again, Blizzard, please, if you're ever watching this video, give Reaper some help. Big winner of the way the armor changes and everything works is Pharah by far. She's slowly entering the game again. Very good at farming tanks and backline, so that's kind of all you want. And pretty much only the DPS soul can kind of deal with it. You can try to burn it with Maugan. You can play some of the hit scan supports to try and deal with it, but Pharah, very strong character, definitely a big winner of all the patches right now. And hey, I was calling out that Pharah has been very strong. Yeah, I believe she even saw some play in OWCS. I've been saying for a while since the Pharah changes came out that a lot of people don't understand how to play new Pharah yet, but once they get the hang of it, they're going to see the power of Pharah. And then after me, Coach Mills was talking about how good new Pharah is. So me and Coach Mills, we were kind of already on that, Pharah hype train that, wait a minute, this Pharah change is really good. A lot of people just don't understand how to play new Pharah. So if you guys haven't learned a new character yet and want a bit of an edge going into the ranked season coming up and things like that, do pick up Pharah. She's very strong right now. And on the same note, pick up Echo while you're alongside her, and also pick up and learn Genji and Sombra. These four are dark horse picks. Very strong characters all together. Another character that was affected with the way the changes and everything work was the way what's his name, 𝐓𝐈𝐈's damage works, because his damage against armor is just really bad, but 𝐓𝐈𝐈 was a completely different problem on his own. Dedicated video to him and Symmetra should be coming very soon. I just need a lot of gameplay footage on them to kind of talk about them, but I will talk about them in the near future. With that being said, everybody, that's going to be it for this video. If you want to support the channel for free, all you have to do is like and subscribe. If you want to support the channel financially, all you have to do is use and subscribe to my Patreon or the YouTube channel membership, whichever one is easier for you. As always, I really appreciate all the love and support, and I will see you guys in tomorrow's video.